What is the time constant of a network if it has resistor, inductor as well as a capacitor? When it has only resistor and inductors, you know that is L by R. When it has a resistor and capacitor, you know it is RC. So, when a network has R, L and C, either in series or in parallel, what is the time constant of it? You have 10 seconds to answer. Quickly type that down in the comment section and then continue watching this video. Towards the end of this video, you will be understanding this concept better. In the previous videos, we saw the topic of RL and RC transients. We solved some circuits also, we solved some tricky problems, we solved some easy problems, and I hope by this time you will have a fairly better idea about the working of an inductor, capacitor and the transient behavior of them. If not, you can just check out this playlist. After watching all these videos, you can come back here. Let's get started. In a series RLC circuit, you will have a resistor, inductor as well as a capacitor. Since all three elements are in series, it will share the same current I of t. I of t will flow through each one of them in a serial manner. Applying Kirchhoff's voltage law, we can say that E is equal to R into I of t plus L di by dt plus 1 by C into the integral I dt. This is the voltage across a capacitor, this is the voltage across this inductor and this is the voltage across this resistor. If you have any doubts on these and these, you can just check that link and then come back here. Okay, so this is the equation of this circuit. Let us take the Laplace transform in order to find the response of the current I. You can either solve it by differential equations method or by Laplace transform method. But for this case, I am going to choose Laplace transform because it's going to be easier for us to break that down and find out the response I of t. So, applying Laplace transform. Since you have a differential term here, it will be S into I of S. So, L is a constant, L S I of S. Plus, similarly, since you have a derivative term here, S will come in the denominator. These are the basic concepts of Laplace transforms. If you want me to take a video on this concept, on this Laplace transform concept, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'll take a video such that you don't have to watch the entire Laplace transform course. I'll just take a small video on Laplace transform. This will be sufficient enough for you to understand the concepts of circuit analysis. Okay, so this is the Laplace transform equation that we have got. I'm just taking this term common. So you will be getting E by S equals I of S into R plus LS plus 1 by CS. So our aim is to find out this current I of S. So in that case, I of S will be E by S into R plus LS plus 1 by CS. So if we multiply inside, we will be getting E divided by SR plus LS square plus 1 by LC into S. We need to convert this into a proper quadratic form. Only then we can find out the roots of this. Why should we find the roots of this quadratic equation? Only then we can put it in the format of S minus something times S plus something, or minus or plus, that's not a problem. Only when it is in this format, only when we have found out the roots of this term, we can put it in this format. Only if it is in this format, it will be easier for us to find out the inverse Laplace transform and find out the current I of t in time domain. Our main objective is to find the I of t in time domain. So in order to do that, we have to take inverse Laplace transform of I of s. So to do that, we need to put it in a proper form which can be classified by Laplace transform. So let us put this into a proper quadratic term. Our equation is SR plus LS square plus 1 by C. I'm just going to convert this into a proper quadratic term here, and later on I'll be substituting it in the denominator. So this implies that I'm just taking L and I'm dividing all the terms by L. Okay, so I'll be getting S into R by L plus S square plus 1 by LC. Okay, so this is a proper quadratic term now. So if we have to find out the roots of it, we can make use of this formula. Minus b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac by 2a, where this is a term, this is b and this is c. The coefficient of s square term is a, the coefficient of s term is b, and the constant term is c. Okay, so this implies that we have two roots s1 comma 2, which is minus b, which is minus of r by l, plus or minus the square root of b square r by l whole square minus 4ac. 4 times 1 times LC, which is 4 by LC, divided by, oh, this is not common to this, it is common to the entire term, divided by 2a, which is 2. So the roots are minus r by 2l. If I take this 2 into the root term, you will be getting it as 4. So this will be plus or minus square root of r by 2l whole square minus 1 by LC. So this is the roots of this quadratic equation. So we can write it as s minus this term and s plus this term. So we have two terms over here. I am calling the plus term as m and the minus term as n. In the sense, I am just putting m as minus r by 2l minus root of r by 2l whole square minus 1 by LC. And I am just putting this as n, which is minus r by 2l plus square root of r by 2l whole square minus 1 divided by LC. We have two roots for this equation, so I am just going to substitute it in this denominator. Which is equal to e by s minus m into s minus n. So this is the value of the current I of s. To find out the response I of t, we need to take inverse Laplace transform. Taking L inverse, we will get I of t as a e to the power minus mt plus b e to the power minus nt, where a and b are some constants. We will worry about that later on, but we will first focus on this e to the power term. Based on the values of R, L and C, we can say that the circuit can be underdamped, overdamped or critically damped. I will explain you each one of the cases. Okay. I am just rubbing this calculation part and I am retaining this term. M is a root which is minus R by 2L minus square root of r by 2l whole square plus 1 by LC. This is a root and we have another root which is minus r by 2l plus the square root of r by 2l whole square plus 1 by LC. So these are the two roots of the response I of t, where I of t is a constant times e to the power minus mt plus another constant times e to the power minus nt. The values of e to the power tells us how the response is going to be. Say for example, we have an equation e to the power minus 5t. I naught e to the power minus 5t, say for example. So this value will start at I naught and continuously at time t, continuously as time increases, this response will be dying out. At particular time, it will come to 0. This is a negative exponential. But if you have a positive exponential, the curve will be like this. Okay. Based on this circuit, we can say that there are three quantities that are governing the e power or the exponential term. This term is decided by R, L and C. Or if you see these roots m and n, if m is positive, then it will be a negative exponential. Here also if n is positive, this will be a negative exponential. If it is a negative exponential, it will be a stable system and the response will die out at one particular time and it will have a proper settling time. But if the exponential is positive or if the roots are not real or if the roots are negative, then the system will never settle. Okay. Let's just consider a case where R by 2L is greater than LC. Consider this case. Okay. I am saying R by 2L is equal to 5 and 1 by LC is equal to 2. Okay, so just consider these values arbitrarily. We'll find out the value of M and N. Okay, this is R by 2L and this is LC. R by 2L is greater than LC. So in that case, M will be minus 5 minus of square root of 5 square is 25. 25 minus 2 is 9.79. Let us find out the value of n. N will be minus 5 plus square root of 25 plus 2, which will be 25 minus 2, which will be square root of 23 minus 5 minus 0.204. So in that case, what is the response? I of t will be e to the power 9.79t plus be to the power 0.204t. Both are positive exponentials. Okay, so in that case, the response will be increasing continuously and it will settle after a very long time. Both are positive exponentials and this indicates that the system is overdamped. The damping ratio is defined by the actual damping, which is R by L, divided by the critical damping, which is 1 by LC. R by L is nothing but half of this and 1 by LC is this term. Okay, so in order to find out the damping ratio, we need to calculate this, which will be 5 divided by pi by 2 divided by 1 by LC, which is 2. Which is 5 by 4. 5 by 4 will be 1.2, I guess. 1.25. So the damping ratio is more than 1. When the damping ratio is more than 1, this is called as a overdamped system. That is, when the value of R by 2L is greater than 1 by LC, this is called as a overdamped system. And a overdamped system will increase its response continuously and it settles after a very long time. This is called as overdamped system. When R by 2L is greater than 1 by LC. For now, remember the ratio as R by 2L and 1 by LC. Later on, I will tell you what these ratios mean. Okay, so now we will check another condition. What if R by 2L is less than 1 by LC? Now, I am just going to reverse this case. I am saying that R by 2L is less than 1 by LC. Now, consider that R by 2L is 2 and 1 by LC is 5. So, in that case, what is the value of M? M will be minus 2 minus of 4 minus 5. So, this becomes a complex term. I am just putting it as a complex term. and here also it will become minus 2 plus 4 minus 5. So thus you can say that both are complex conjugates. M is x minus iy and n is x plus iy. Both are complex conjugates. When both the roots are in complex conjugate terms, then the response I of t will be e to the power mt times a1 cos nt plus a2 sin nt. So in this case, this response will be an oscillating response since you have cosine and sine terms over here. So for a underdamped system, what will be the value of damping ratio? Damping ratio will be R by L divided by 1 by LC. What is R by L? 2 by 2, which is 1, divided by 1 by LC is 5, which is 1 by 5, 0.2. The damping ratio is less than 1. Whenever the damping ratio is less than 1, the system will be an oscillatory system and it will settle after a very long time. The response will be like this. It will shoot up and then come down, then it will go to a peak, it will resemble a sine wave and then it will settle at a very long time. This is the response of I of t when it is an underdamped system or when R by 2L is less than 1 by LC. Here, in between the overdamped and the underdamped system, we have a critically damped system. That system has R by 2L value equal to 1 by LC. We will now talk about a critically damped system. It is called as critical damping when R by 2L is same as LC. When both these terms are the same, then this term will vanish and this term will vanish. So it will have only one root. The solution of I of t will have only one root, which is minus R by 2L. So the solution will be I of t is a1t plus a2 into e to the power minus R by 2L times t. So you have an exponential term and then a linear multiplied by an exponential term. This is called as a critically damped system. The response of the critical damping will be like this. Say for example the final value is 5. Just for example I am just giving you. If it is an overdamped system, in that case the response will not be this fast. It will be very slow. It will settle after a really long time. This is an overdamped system and this is a critical damped system. And in case of an underdamped system, the value will be oscillating between the mean value. Since you have cos and sine terms in the response, it will be something like this. This is a underdamped system. Okay, so this is how the system responds with respect to the values of R, L and C. By designing these values appropriately, you can say how quickly your system will be responding. If you want to increase the response time of your system, you can bring it close to critical damping, or you can ensure that R by 2L will be same as 1 by LC. There is a frequency called resonant frequency. At a resonant frequency omega r, which is 1 by square root of 2 pi into root of LC. At this frequency, if a source is supplying power at this frequency, then this will be getting maximum current or infinite or maximum current that is passing through this circuit. This is called as a resonant frequency, and generally the response will be maximum at this frequency. It will gradually reduce as the frequency increases, and this peak is called as omega r or resonant frequency. Okay, and At resonance frequency, the response will be maximum, or the current that is supplied to the circuit will be maximum. At a lower frequency, when the current is 70% of the maximum current, this is called as lower cutoff frequency. And this current is also achieved at a frequency which is a little greater than resonant frequency. Or here, this is called as upper cutoff frequency. And the gap between the upper and the lower cutoff frequency is called as bandwidth. We saw two terms here. One is resonant frequency. It is the frequency of the supply at which the circuit will be getting maximum response. This is called as resonant frequency. We saw resonant frequency and then upper and lower cutoff frequency. It is the frequency at which the response of the current will be 70.7% of the maximum current. This is called as upper and lower cutoff frequency. This gap between the lower and upper cutoff frequency is called as bandwidth. If I say that a bandwidth of the circuit is between 100 Hz and 150 Hz, it is best to operate the circuit in this range to get maximum response. If I want to expand the bandwidth, say for example the bandwidth is from 100 Hz to 150 Hz. I want to expand it to 180 to 200 Hz. So if I want to have the bandwidth in this range, what should be the values of RL and C? Just think and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. In this video, we derived the expression for a RLC series network. We saw what a resonant frequency is. We also saw the three conditions of damping: underdamped, overdamped and critically damped. I just missed to say one point here. When the damping ratio is 0, when this damping ratio is 0, it is called as undamped system. More about the damping frequency and the response of the system will be understood better in control systems. We will look at that in that video. Okay, so now this is how we have seen, and say for example you have R, L and C in parallel. So in that case, what will be the response?